What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today I've got for you two crazy relationship drama stories from r/AmITheJerk, but there are a couple of updates in both of them which are very, very juicy. As you can tell by the title and thumbnail, the first one involves a throat punch. Yeah, it gets serious, it gets physical. Sit back, relax, make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you do go on to enjoy this one. Let's get into it. Am I the jerk for punching my husband's ex-wife? My husband's ex-wife, who we will call Shelly, hates me, and I'm not a big fan of hers either. She is high conflict and has been putting my stepson in the middle of her rubbish since the beginning. She had him listen at our door and report back what I said. She even called CPS on me for having a medical marijuana card. Nothing came of it. She'll tell anyone that will listen that I stole her family from her and I destroyed her life. My husband had been divorced from her for 8 years when I met him. I just think that backstory is important. A couple of days ago, I took our daughter, who was 4, to the park in our subdivision to play. As I was pushing her on the swings, I saw Shelly pull up. I immediately grabbed my daughter and started walking back home. Shelly began to follow me and started yelling insults and threats at me. I dialed 911 and I told them what was going on, so we stayed on the line. She called my daughter a half-breed, I'm black and my husband is white, and then continued to follow me down the street hurling insults. I told her to leave us alone and I've called the police, but that just made her more aggressive. By that point I was in front of my house and my garage door was up, so I told my daughter to go inside and get her dad. I turn around and Shelly is running full speed towards me with her arm drawn back. I punched her dead in the throat. She fell on the ground and was gasping for air. I dropped to the ground to ask if she was okay, but she continued to try to swing at me as she gasped for air. The cops then arrived and put her in handcuffs because she started to fight them. They put us in separate areas and talked to us. She told them that I hit her first, but my husband was already outside with the footage ready to show the police. They asked me if I wanted to press charges, and I said yes. This is where people are saying I'm wrong. We live in a small town and people got wind of what happened, and almost everyone is saying I'm wrong because Shelly is 5'4", maybe 130 pounds, and I'm 5'10" and weigh about 180 and I weightlift. People are saying I should have gone easier on her and I could have really hurt her. They've also said that I've done enough and charges weren't necessary. Of course, my husband, my stepson and my family are on my side, but I've gotten some nasty messages from people in my town calling me a monster and a bully. I feel like I was just defending myself, but I want some unbiased opinions because now I feel like I might have taken it too far and I'm starting to doubt myself. So, am I the jerk here? Alright, let's get into some comments straight away before I give my thoughts and then we get into the update. Somebody said, "You're not the jerk. You were defending yourself against a physical threat and your actions were reasonable given the circumstances. Shelly's behaviour was unacceptable and she escalated the situation by following you, yelling insults and making threats. When she charged at you with her arm drawn back, you had every right to protect yourself. The criticism from people in your town seems misguided, focusing on your physical size and strength rather than the facts of the situation. The fact that Shelly is smaller than you doesn't mean you should have allowed her to attack you without defending yourself. It's also important to note that Shelly's behaviour has been problematic for a long time, including putting your stepson in the middle of her conflicts and making false reports to CPS. Her actions have shown a pattern of aggression and manipulation. You did the right thing by defending yourself and pressing charges. Don't let the opinions of others make you doubt your actions. You prioritize your safety and the safety of your child, and that is something to be proud of." Another commenter agreed, "You're not the jerk. Shelly is an idiot to try and swing on someone bigger, taller, and stronger than her. And why? Because you didn't react to her insults? Instead, you asked her to leave you alone and then called the cops. Had you not turned around and seen her running towards you, ready to hit you, she could have caused you great damage. Instead, you threw one punch to keep her away. Too bad your fist is at her throat level. She should have thought about that before she tried to attack you. Do not doubt yourself. You defended yourself from someone who intended to do you harm. You didn't continue to wail on her. You weren't the aggressor. She stepped on your property and threatened you and your child. The people in your town are idiots. Fight rumor with truth. Post the footage. Show the charges. You were within your rights, period. And I defy anyone to have been in the same position who wouldn't have gotten into a defensive mode like you did. Wow, what a comment. I agree with all of that, by the way. Somebody else said, not the jerk, it's all recorded from the time she approached you at the park and attacked you at your home. I wonder if it's possible to charge her with a hate crime. OP replied to this, they charged her with assault and I'm getting a restraining order. Somebody also said, OP should tell her husband to get full custody of his son, which is interesting. She replied saying, my stepson is 18 and has lived with us since he was 8. Wow, so her husband already does have full custody then. Well, I suppose maybe not, but he's lived with you for a long time now, which is good. And finally, somebody said, nope, you're not the jerk. She came at you while you were trying to keep your child safe. And 8 years, she needs to move on. It's a great point, really. But OP says, I don't think she ever will. My husband is a great guy, and she really did mess up. He truly loved her, but she was too toxic to accept it. Now, I think she has a lot of regrets. Her aggression definitely got worse after I had my daughter because she wanted a girl. Alright, I would normally give my thoughts here, but I feel like I completely agree with the comments. OP is not the jerk. It's very simple. This woman is crazy, so there's no point. Let's just get into the update. Now, this was posted just one day after the original post. It hasn't even been 24 hours since my last post, but I feel you guys deserve an update and for me to clarify some things. Firstly, my daughter and I are okay, and thank you all so much for your support. My daughter heard what was said, but fortunately has no idea what it means. She also didn't see any of the physical violence that occurred. Secondly, Shelly is still in jail. Luckily for us, her family doesn't even like her, so no one's bailed her out. She also had a warrant, so she'll probably be sitting there for a while. Next, for everyone worried about my stepson. He's just my son in our house. Thank you so much for the concern, but he's 18 years old, and I've been his mother figure for the past 10. He knows his mum's antics, and he's in therapy, and he's okay. For the people that private messaged me to say that I alienated my stepson from his mum, well, shame on you. You guys have no idea what this kid has dealt with through the years, and he is so strong. I also would like to clarify that I did press charges. I spoke to my lawyer, who's my aunt, and she said I actually have plenty of evidence from over the years to sue Shelly for the emotional pain she's caused me, and I will be pursuing that. I'm going to make it hurt, so she knows that this behaviour will not be tolerated. I'm also in the process of getting a restraining order, which will not take long at all, given all of the evidence. Lastly, this whole situation has been so eye-opening about the lack of support I have living in this town. I've stayed because I thought it was best for my family, but after speaking with my husband and stepson, we all realised it's best for everyone if we move and start fresh. If anyone has suggestions of diverse places to move with a good school system for our daughter, please comment down below. I want to thank you all so much again for your help. I felt more support from strangers on the internet than I have from the community I've lived in for years. I will continue to keep you all updated with whatever I can as I continue the process. Let's just finish off with a couple of relevant comments. Somebody asked what was the reason for OP's husband's divorce from his ex, and unbelievably OP said she hit him in front of their son and fractured his eye socket. I mean, look, we already knew that Shelly was crazy, but yes, that is mental. Somebody else commented, make sure Shelly actually has enough assets and income to make suing her worth it. You know the old saying, you can't get blood out of a turnip. She sounds massively emotionally unregulated since she had a warrant out already. Emotionally unregulated people often can't hold jobs and really don't have money. OP says she is a master aesthetician with her own spa. She has money even though she says she doesn't. Somebody else commented, if you're willing to move to Scotland, we take kick butt mums just fine here. Other than that, I can't help. But you were absolutely right in what you did, and I agree, make it hurt. Teach the lesson that she best not come back for more. And somebody asked, based on OP's background, can she relocate to any city and find a job? OP says, I'm actually a private financial advisor, so I work from home mostly. My husband is an engineer, and he can get work just about anywhere. Well, that is good to hear. Okay, and there we go. That is a story for now, I suppose. Now, I feel like the comments here, the comments that I picked out, sort of covered the main points in terms of how crazy Shelly is, and yeah, the fact that she is just obviously slightly messed up in the head and is still, I don't know, living her old relationship and hoping that was still a thing. I'm not sure what's going on there. I don't really need to comment anymore. It's obvious that OP is not the jerk here for what she did in defending herself on her property and defending her child. However, I do think that we need to talk a bit more about her neighborhood and how unsupportive and almost anti-OP they seem to be, and why that is. Now, I don't want to jump to any conclusions here, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to question why. Like, it's just strange that they're siding with somebody who is so obviously crazy over you. I think to side with someone, surely they must know about, like, I don't know, unless they've just heard down the grapevine that, oh, someone punched somebody in the throat and that's it. Surely you'd ask for more context there and be like, oh no, that's actually OP's husband's ex from years ago, and she's been sort of going after the new relationship for years. She hasn't moved on at all. She's pretty mental. Like, she's tried to get her son to do lots of things, etc, etc, etc. I do agree though with some of the comments, like, surely just show the footage and then be done with it, and you'd stop all the sort of like weird rumor and people going against you, which I can't quite work out why. Maybe there's more going on here, but like, surely if people know that she's been physically abusive for more than 10 years, that's enough for them to side with you, not her. I mean, I said I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I think you guys know what I mean there, but you know what, I will. OP is a black woman in a small town. Maybe that's all I need to say. Let me know if you agree with me in the comments down below, but yes, it does sound like you should probably move to a town that is a little more inclusive. Okay, now moving on to our second story of this episode. Am I the jerk for not wanting my husband to go away for the weekend for his best friend's bachelor party when I'm 37 weeks pregnant? Now, the original post for this one came back in March of 2019. My husband's best friend got engaged, and my husband is in the wedding party. He's not the best man, but is doing most of the planning for the bachelor party. In his friend group, they usually do a golf weekend. Also, this is likely the last bachelor party in the group, as the rest of the guys are already married. Well, who's to say one of them might be divorced and they might go again? The stats would say that's actually pretty likely. Anyway, let's carry on. I'll stop being silly. However, we have a 2-year-old, and I'm currently pregnant with our second child, and due on August 25th. This was posted March 25th, by the way. When he started planning the bachelor party, I told him that planning something earlier in the summer would give him a higher chance of going for the full weekend. I originally framed it as not wanting to be stuck watching our toddler by myself for a full weekend in my 3rd trimester while he's out golfing, which was a mistake. I should have framed it as not wanting him to go away for a weekend so close to my due date. I don't know. I think that isn't a mistake at all. The way you phrased it the first time is completely fair, and if he was reasonable, he'd probably say, yeah, that makes sense to me, and I'd pick an earlier date. Anyway, let's carry on. They finally picked a date for the bachelor weekend. It's August the 8th, so I'll be almost 38 weeks pregnant and considered full term. Technically, I'll be 38 weeks the day he plans to get back, so about 2 weeks before my actual due date. The bachelor party will be about 2 hours away without traffic. On previous golf weekends, he's been terrible about keeping his phone charged, and it can be hard to get in touch with him. Also, while he doesn't drink, he does smoke, and he would most likely be smoking the whole weekend. Now, he thinks that as long as he gets someone to watch our toddler while he's gone, it's fine to go for the full weekend, 2 to 3 nights. This makes me incredibly nervous. I'm willing to compromise and agree to an overnight plus a day of golf. I'd also want him to keep his phone on and charged at all times, and ask that he stay sober in case I go into labour. He seemed to think this was an unreasonable compromise when I initially brought it up. Since then, he is unwilling to discuss it until they have finalised the plans for the weekend. I'm of the mindset that there are very few times in our marriage where my needs, wants and desires take priority over his, but that this is one of them. Yes, obviously. So, Reddit, am I the jerk for not wanting him to go to a bachelor party for 2 to 3 nights so close to my due date? Obviously not. How is this even a post? This is not a good sign for your husband, I'm sorry. The fact that you're even having to make this post is really tough. Let's get into an immediate update here because I don't even need to give my thoughts. The answer's so obvious. Update. I tried to talk to my husband about the bachelor party, and I specifically asked how they arrived at that weekend. My husband said the only requirement was that every groomsman be able to attend, and that he threw out 2 dates, one in July and the one 2 weeks before my due date. The July date didn't work for some of the groomsmen, so he picked the August date. Those were the only 2 weekends discussed, and he apparently picked both. His argument is that if I went into labour when he was at work and happened to be on a long call, it could take him over 2 hours to get home. So why is it not okay to plan a trip that would take him the same distance away? What? That's probably the worst argument that I've ever heard. I tried to explain that there's a difference between work, where if he can't get home it's because someone is seriously injured or something is burning down, and a bachelor party. He doesn't see it that way and just wants to be there for his friend. In his head, the due date is August 25th, and there's no chance that the baby could possibly come 2 weeks early. That's right, because babies are never born prematurely. We didn't get a chance to discuss duration of the weekend or the possibility of not smoking before the conversation dissolved. He got annoyed when I brought that he has a poor track record at keeping in touch during these things, although he was pretty angry throughout the entire conversation, to be honest. I tried to remain calm throughout the convo, but I did cry and I was the one to walk away first. Yeah, fair enough. After work today, I'm getting my son and we're going to stay with my parents. All right, let's jump into some comments. Now, this one is very interesting and I don't agree with it. They say OP is not the jerk. However, they also say this. I get that it's a big ask, but his best friend is getting married and he's only going to be 2 hours away. I think that as long as he keeps his phone charged and he stays sober enough to drive, it's not unreasonable that he wants to attend this event that he planned. But I also get why you're nervous. Could he tentatively plan to attend and then check in with your doctor to see how likely it is you're going to go into labour closer to the actual date? Somebody replied to this though. Doctors can guess, but they're frequently wrong. Lots of women are told they'll have their baby any day now at 36 weeks and go overdue. Or told there's no way the baby is coming yet and go into labour within a week. 2 hours away is unlikely to be a huge deal, but if he's drinking and has to sober up first, or if she has a precipitous labour, he could miss the birth entirely. Second babies often come faster too. Personally, I wouldn't be willing to risk that. Now, somebody else sort of replied to everything, all the comments here in general. I also, I can't quite believe what I'm reading here with the comments overall, and I'll give my thoughts on them after this, but they said, not the jerk, the comments here are just so frustrating. Yes, OP's husband will have to make the immense sacrifice of staying sober at a bachelor party. Woe is him, how could he possibly survive? I'm assuming that both parties made the decision to have another kid. In making that decision, OP has sacrificed 9 months of alcohol, getting high at parties, eating what she wants, any number of other things. I don't care if he organised and could have planned it on another day. I don't care if it's the last bachelor party of the group. OP and the baby come first. Not just when it's easy and convenient, but all the time. If my husband went to something like this after I'd asked him not to, and he missed the birth of our child, or showed up drunk or high while I was in labour, it would be the end of my marriage. I honestly cannot believe how many people are saying OP is unreasonable. If you can't stay sober for one weekend for your family, you have a problem. Now, amazingly, guys, and I can't quite believe I'm saying this either, the verdict on the original post on r/AmITheJerk was that there are actually no jerks here. And that, yes, what OP is saying is obviously very, very fair, very, very reasonable. But what OP's husband is demanding or wants as well is also reasonable, and therefore he's not the jerk. I could not disagree with this more. Let me know in the comments down below what you think, but from my perspective, I completely agree with the final comment here. OP has sacrificed so much to have the baby, and I know it's annoying, right? You want to go to this bachelor party that you've organised, but it's one bachelor party. It's really not that big of a deal. Also, the fact that you're being allowed to go overnight and have a full golf day as well, I think is a pretty great offer you've got there from your wife. You're not going to get a much better offer than that. I think a lot of women and partners, whichever way around it is, would be like, no, you're not going at all. I think that would be very reasonable. I mean, if my pregnant wife said that to me, I'd be like, you know what? Yeah. Also, I don't think this would even have to happen. You just would stay at home if you're a good person. So stupid. Why is he being such a terrible person about this? I can't quite work it out. Anyway, there's an update to this one that came 5 months later on August the 11th. So that is the weekend of the bachelor party, well, just after it. I cannot wait to see what happened. I really cannot wait to see what conclusion or what sort of agreement these guys came to. Let's get into it. So, the bachelor party was this weekend. My husband and I ultimately decided to wait until the doctor's appointment the week before the party to make a decision. If she said, the baby is coming any day now, he was going to go for the day. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law volunteered to watch our son for the weekend. And it turns out that my parents are moving and wound up moving to an apartment that is 5 minutes from our house. So they'd be around in case I happen to go into labour. I just think that's stupid anyway, sorry guys. Like, your husband has to be there if there's any chance of you going into labour at all. I'm saying this as a guy that would love to go to a bachelor party, by the way. Like, I haven't organised one, and I can understand. If you organise one, it's a massive deal, and maybe it's the last one you're going to go to. You're going to want to be there, and it's going to be a great weekend. But some things take priority. Like, it's not even a debate in my head. I put myself in this position right now with my best mates in the world going to one of their bachelor parties that I've organised. It's not even up for discussion. I can't even believe this is a post, as I've said. We're going to finish it though, even though I'm actually getting like slightly perturbed by this, I'm going to be honest. Anyway, the OB said she didn't think the baby would come this weekend. So we decided that my husband would go to the bachelor party for 2 nights with the stipulation that he remain sober and be ready to leave at a moment's notice. My husband told his friends he'd be up on Friday. We were all set. Why? Fair play. I mean, you know what? Fair play to the husband for having a woman like this as his wife. You've done well, my friend, is all I'll say. And then on Wednesday, all heck broke loose. Our son got a rash on his hands and feet, and it turns out that someone at daycare had come down with hand, foot and mouth disease. He wasn't showing any other symptoms, so we weren't sure if he actually had it or if it was just a random rash. We decided to see how he was on Thursday. If he had a fever, I was going to get a hotel, because if I came down with it, then I could pass it to the baby, and my husband was going to have to stay home. Our son woke up fever-free on Thursday morning, so we were all set. Then, on Thursday night, my mum went to the ER with stomach pains. Turns out, she was also having a baby. Not really. I wonder how many of you I got with that. Turns out, she was going to need surgery. My husband was supposed to leave at 6 a.m. on Friday, but I asked him to wait until we got an update on my mum. That was a bit silly from me, but let me know in the comments down below. Did I prank ya? When I called her on Friday morning, apparently she was feeling better, so the doctor told her that she might be able to go home and schedule the surgery for a later date. I gave my husband the go-ahead to leave for the bachelor party. Except, then the doctor changed his mind and decided the surgery couldn't wait. My mum spent the weekend in the hospital waiting for a surgeon to be available. She finally was able to have the surgery on Sunday morning. In the meantime, I lined up a few friends just in case I happened to go into labour. My dad was also around, but had his hands full dealing with my mum and the move. So this weekend was stressful and it felt like everything that could go wrong did, but at least the baby stayed put. My husband got to go to 2 of the 3 nights of the bachelor party. My mum's surgery went well and our son never actually got sick. And my husband was a lot more responsive to text than he normally is because of the whole situation with my mum. No, that shouldn't have been the reason. It should have been because of you potentially having a kid. Anyway, I'm just glad that my husband is home and that this weekend is finally over. What have I just read? Please, can some of the comments agree with me here? What is going on? Let's just get straight into them. Somebody said, I nearly got a panic attack reading this. Okay, good. It was extremely irresponsible of your husband to leave once potential hand, foot and mouth disease was knocking about and your mother's surgery was in the picture. He shouldn't have even had to ask you. I mean, that is the thing. He really shouldn't have done. That puts pressure on you to not come across as a female dog in this. This could easily have gone a lot worse. You just lucked out. I was a preemie from my mother stressing out. I've had really bad hand, foot and mouth disease as an adult. And when I gave birth myself, it went from low risk to life-threatening pretty fast. And 2 hours would definitely have made a big difference. He's a father, and that means he's got to be there for you, his son, and new baby to be. a multi-day bachelor party cannot be a priority. It doesn't matter if you're family and friends, it's his child. I feel like you only got Not the Jerk because Reddit skews young enough and male enough that they don't quite internalize all the emotional labor that men pass to women and how optional men find putting in the time to be a father. Would they think it's reasonable if, at 1 week postpartum, you decided to leave the baby behind and party up with your friends? After all, there's breast pumps and formula, so other people can theoretically do the newborn parenting. He owes you like all the 4 a.m. feedings at this point to make this up. Somebody else commented, and you're gonna like this one. Can you imagine if she'd gone into birth? OP, it's just me today. Doc, really? You have someone you can call? Your mum? Well, she's in emergency surgery. Okay, your dad? He's taking care of her. Any friends? Well, they're caring for my son who has hand, foot and mouth disease. Okay, what is going on? Where's your husband again? Now see, he really wanted 2 nights with his boys. Goodness me. I'm glad it worked out, but I hope this man grows up. Somebody else said, this could be turned into a movie. So much drama with a good ending. Congrats, I'm glad everything turned out okay. Mum okay, son okay, you and baby okay. Husband had 2 nice days. Now, poop is going to hit the fan when the baby comes. You're going to be busier than a one-armed paper hanger. Now, OP did actually leave one final update here. Wow, I really wasn't expecting this to blow up. My husband and I were looking at the weekend with a sense of humour, as in, what else could go wrong? He's a great husband and father and very helpful around the house. I understand that he wanted a last hurrah with the boys before the baby comes, and I thought we did pretty well coming up with a compromise that was as stress-free as possible for everyone involved. Unfortunately, the best laid plans and all that rubbish. We're both just glad that he was able to have a great time with his friends. No one got hand, foot and mouth disease. My mum's okay, and he didn't miss the baby being born. Okay, I mean, maybe, but like, sorry. As I've already said throughout all of this story, you lot get in the comments down below. Tell me if I'm actually like just siding with the mum too much here. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous. I also don't think that any of this stuff really had to happen before the decision should have been made. Like the hand, foot and mouth disease and your OP's mum going into surgery or whatever. Like, surely you should already have just been like, oh, I'm going to be at home. And even after that, like, surely at that point, when you've got the disease and both of OP's parents are obviously tied up in the surgery, he should have been like, okay, no, you know what? I do want to go to this, but I'll definitely stay at home now. What is going on? Also, why not just make yourself unavailable for that weekend in the first place? 2 weeks before your wife is due is a stupid time to organize a bachelor party. Do it on another day. Like, your wife explicitly said to you, the earlier you do it, the better, because I'm pregnant. It's so dumb. I just don't really get why the people of Reddit, and this is where I do often, and sometimes, not often, often's harsh, but sometimes I'm a little bit perplexed by Redditors when they just like come to some opinion that I just do not agree with. I guess that's the beauty of the internet. But last hurrah before the baby comes? You already have a baby. Like, I feel like you're past that point now. Unless he gets a last hurrah before every new baby comes. It's stupid. Why do you need a last hurrah as well? Like, you've chosen to have a baby. Shouldn't that just be like the most unbelievable thing ever? And also the fact that you already have a kid, like you're already looking after a kid. Having another one doesn't change the fact that you're already looking after one. I don't get the last hurrah bit. I don't understand. I really don't. I just think this guy is an absolute clown. Like, let me know in the comments down below if you agree with me on this. I just think it's like the most easy sort of conclusion to this one ever. He's just a clown. And look, clearly OP is a very selfless, forgiving person, but I feel like you're bordering on welcome mat material. That is how much your husband feels like he can just do stuff and get away with it because you're so nice to him. Maybe I'm going too far here. Let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, that is what I think about that one. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. 2 entertaining stories, that is for sure. As I said, get in the comments down below. I love reading your comments. If you go through any of my episodes, you will always see that I've replied to at least one comment, and I've like given heart reacts to so many. So get in the comments down below. You'll see that I interact with you guys, and I want to hear what you have to say.